is frustrating to be not able to hear well enough to enjoy talking with your friends and your family. Hearing disorders make it hard, but not impossible to hear. They can often be helped. Deafness can keep you from hearing sounds at all. What causes hearing loss? First, it is inherited. Second, it is caused by diseases such as ear infections or meningitis. Third, it is caused by trauma. Fourth, it is caused by certain medicines. Fifth, it is caused by long-term exposure to loud noises. And sixth, aging. Your problems can get worse. If you have trouble with hearing, you can get help. Possible treatments include hearing aids, cochlear implants, special training, certain medicines, and surgery.
You need to see a doctor if you have a sudden loss of hearing, particularly in one ear. Seek immediate medical attention. Talk to your doctor if difficulty hearing is interfering with your daily life. Your hearing may deteriorate. You find that it's harder to understand everything that's said in conversation, especially when background noise. Sounds seem muffled.
This video is about the 4 hearing aid types. The best type of hearing aid for you would be decided by A, your hearing loss or severity of, B, your preference of type, would that be in the ear or behind the ear, C, your lifestyle, are you still very active or a homebody? Now there's 4 hearing aid types, and the first type, the open fits, are a new type of behind the ear hearing aid. It's also kind of mini behind the ear. It fits behind the ear. It's smaller, very thin, almost invisible tube used to connect to the ear canal. There are some open fit hearing aid pros. A, it's great for high frequency hearing loss due to the open fit ability. They don't plug you up. B, it's more reliable than an in-the-ear hearing aid because of the circuitry it's on the outside. It's discreet. It's not easily visible, especially from the front or the side. They're more comfortable and barely visible and lightweight. There's no ear mold, less plugged up feeling. It's an open fit. Now there are some cons to these open fit hearing aids. It's not suitable for moderate to severe low frequency loss. These are the men's deep voices. Some models do not have a manual volume control. Sometimes sweat from the outside ear may cause malfunction. You could get wax buildup in the tube and have to clean it frequently. Now let's go to in-the-ear hearing aids. In-the-ear hearing aids sit inside the ear canal. They're discreet, they're small, and they're for people with mild to moderate hearing loss. Now, the in-the-ear hearing aid pros are small and discreet for cosmetic purposes. They're very efficient in the delivery of low and high frequency gain. You can use the telephone or headsets normally. In-the-ear cons. They are not appropriate for severe to profound hearing loss. They're not appropriate for high frequency hearing loss because they take over 100% of your hearing. And they're not suggested for children. Let's talk about the traditional behind the ear hearing aids. Behind the ear hearing aids are much larger in shape. They sit behind or atop the outer ear and have a thicker tube that routes sound down into the ear via an ear tip or ear mold. Behind the ear hearing aids are designed for people with very severe or profound hearing loss. Now the pros are they can be used for severe to profound hearing loss. This is for somebody with a great deal of hearing loss. Sometimes they're less expensive than other behind the ears. You could put more memory options or features such as a telecoil in the hearing aids. There's a wider selection of case colors because it's much larger space or real estate. The behind the ears have much larger controls. These are for people with dexterity issues. and it's a longer battery life. Usually they use the 13 with 200 hours or 675 with at least 300 hours. Behind the ear hearing aid cons. They're more visible for those without much hair. People are definitely going to see these. They're very inconvenient for physically active people because they're just much larger. They could be susceptible to moisture and perspiration damage because they're sitting outside the ear. Behind the ear hearing aids require an ear mold, and an ear mold plugs up 100% of your ear canal. The last type is a receiver in the ear hearing aid. These look very similar to the behind the ear hearing aids with one unique difference. The speaker and or the microphone of the hearing aid is placed inside the ear canal, and a thin electrical wires replace the acoustic tube of the open fit hearing aid. These hearing aids offer a huge cosmetic and listening advantages and are typically and the most popular type style used today. So the receiver in the ear pros. They are smaller, usually smaller, since the speaker or microphone is moved from behind the ear into the ear. There's less occlusion or plugged up feeling. They are very comfortable due to the lightweight design and the advanced circuitry inside and the size. There is no tubing to collect moisture, and the tubing does not have to be replaced. One of the big advantages of a receiver in the ear is its ability to change to a stronger power receiver. In many cases, if your hearing loss progresses in its severity, the cost is significantly less to replace the receiver than purchasing a brand new hearing aid. Receiver in the ear cons. The cost of repair. First, the receiver in the canal hearing aid is composed of two parts. Behind the ear that houses the computer and microphone, and B, the receiver unit, which is the wire going from behind the ear into the ear canal. Either one of these could go out. These is new technology, and replacing the receiver could be from $150 to $500, and or replacing behind the ear unit could replace the entire hearing aid. Wax buildup. A receiver in the hearing aid, these now have the same issues that an in-the-ear hearing aids do. The receiver is in the ear canal. Wax could get built up in the wax guard and clog it up. Feedback management. When you put a receiver in the ear, you just increase the chance for feedback. That means more squealing. That means when sound leaving the receiver finds its way back into the microphone. And you may have to go back for a couple tunings to get this correct. There's one more issue with the receiver.
You find yourself having to turn the volume higher when you listen to music, the radio, or television.
and avoidance of some social settings.
Causes of hearing loss: a gradual buildup of earwax, damage to the inner ear infection and abnormal bone growth or tumors, ruptured eardrums.
During normal hearing, sound waves travel through the ear canal and strike the eardrum, causing it to vibrate. The eardrum is attached to 3 tiny bones in the middle ear. The last bone, the stapes, pushes on a fluid-filled chamber in the inner ear called the cochlea. This fluid movement causes sensitive hair cells within the cochlea to bend. When the hair cells bend, they generate an electrical signal that is sent to the brain. Age, disease, injury, or repeated exposure to loud noise can damage the various structures of the ear and interfere with hearing. There are 2 specific types of hearing loss: conductive hearing loss, which is caused by a mechanical problem in the ear canal or middle ear that blocks the conduction of sound, or sensory neural hearing loss, which is caused by damage to the inner ear, auditory nerve, or auditory nerve pathways in the brain. Conductive hearing loss is often reversible. Sensory neural hearing loss is not.
Occurs when sound waves reach structures inside your ear, where the sound waves vibrations are converted into nerve signals that your brain recognizes as sounds. Your ear consists of 3 major areas, such as outer ear, middle ear, and inner ear. Sound waves pass through the outer ear and cause vibrations at the eardrum. The eardrum's and 3 small bones of the middle ear amplify the vibrations as they travel to the inner ear. There, the vibrations pass through the fluid in a snail-shaped structure in the inner ear called cochlea. Ear, organ of hearing and equilibrium. It consists of outer, middle, and inner parts. The outer ear is the visible part ear. It includes the skin-covered flap of cartilage known as the auricle or the pinna and the opening. The inner ear or labyrinth contains of cochlea, which houses the sound analyzing cells of the ear, and the vestibule, which houses the organs of equilibrium.
Attached to nerve cells in the cochlea are thousands of tiny hairs that help translate sounds, vibration into electrical signals that are transmitted to your brain. The vibrations of different sounds affect these tiny hairs in different ways, causing the nerve cells to send different signals to your brain. That's how you distinguish one sound from another.
That's not a teapot.
Ouch.
That is tinnitus.
Ringing in the
it's
ears.
ringing in the ears, actually different kinds of sounds. You know, we've all had ringing in the ears after a rock concert or being next to a firecracker, but this is different. This is something that's going on all the time. Actually, it's not a disease, it's a symptom. Typically, it's associated with hearing loss. And just to orient things here in the ear, you have the eardrum, the outer ear, you have the little bones on the inside of your ear, the ossicles, this thing that looks like a snail, the cochlea, that's the inner ear that processes sound. Typically, some type of injury, hearing loss, it can be a medication, affects that part. You lose some hearing. The body, in response to that, forms a sound.
So is there a treatment, Drew?
Actually, there is a brand new treatment that is working very well, good results. It's called the neuromonic tinnitus treatment device. And what you're basically doing is masking the sound that you're hearing in your ear.
The auditory cortex. The auditory cortex is divided up into areas that are responsible for processing different pitches in a similar way in which keys would be arranged on a piano. Anything which causes us to lose our hearing can have the effect of disrupting this internal keyboard. This could be caused by medication, loud noises, or just the natural aging process. Due to this disruption, there's a reduction of activity in the keyboard areas affected by hearing loss, and the nerves that make up the area can start to fire spontaneously. This is called neural synchronization. Or to put it another way, if the ear no longer talks to the auditory center, then the nerve cells in the auditory center begin to chatter in an overactive and unregulated way. It's this abnormal overactivity which causes us to perceive the tinnitus signal. Over time, this abnormal activity becomes permanent. Modern imaging procedures enable us to see evidence of the abnormal neural synchrony within the auditory part of the brain. This abnormal neural synchrony doesn't remain limited to the auditory center. Brainwave measurements have shown that brain areas regulating attention, emotions, and stress are also affected. The faulty signals in all these areas together allow the tinnitus tone to invade into our consciousness. This interaction of brain areas influences the individual level of distress and anxiety experienced by each person, as well as the perceived volume and invasiveness of the tinnitus.